Am I live? Am I live? There we go. Okay. So color, probably the most important art element that we work with. All right? Because it attaches to memory, it attaches to emotion, it attaches to symbolic meanings that you've got in your head. So let's see if I can give you an example. What is the color of love? Red. Everybody agree? David says green. No. Wasn't sure there. Right. So you've got a whole lot of baggage. I shouldn't say baggage. Luggage, perhaps, that comes along with color, and so it requires a lot of thought about how to use it. All right. So there's basically two ways to create color. There's what's called reflected color and emitted color. So we're going to get right into there with that. So emitted and reflected. All right, so can you guess what emitted color is? Light, right? Light. It's emitted. Exactly. And then reflected? Pigment. Yeah, exactly. So with light, you're creating color with the actual emitted light. Reflected is when we're going to say white light hits a surface that has a puddle of pigment on it, and it's going to reflect. Let's say if we're going to break down that white light into its component parts, it'll reflect some of it back. It'll absorb some of it also. All right. All right, so that's pigment color right there. Basically, in order to use pigment, it's got to be in some sort of medium. So acrylic paint, oil paint, crayon, bound up in a chalk, something. It's got to have a binder of some kind. All right, so that's your standard pigment. All right, now light is a little bit different in that if you break it down into its component parts, you ever heard Roy G. Biv? Anybody ever heard Roy G. Biv? Yeah. Okay, so we got a couple. All right, Roy G. Biv. What's the first R? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Excellent. Roy G. Biv. That's the colors of the rainbow. Okay? So that right there is white light. When you put them all together in roughly the same proportions, you get white light when you're done. All right? However, here's an interesting thing, and something that designers and computer folks use to their advantage. If you take red, green, and blue in equal measure, you will also get white light. Okay? What's really funny about RGB, red, blue, green, is that when they're added together, let's say you've got red here, red and you add blue, who would guess that you would get kind of this purpley magenta color? Ladies, what color is this? Or lady, Lacey, what color is that? It's called magenta. All right. I asked the ladies because they have generally a wider vocabulary of colors than guys do. So we'll defer to their judgment. Say that again, Andrew. Can they? Okay. Okay. I had never, well, I knew that color blindness more runs in the male line, but I wasn't aware that generally they can see more color. All right. So when you add blue and green light together, what color is this, Lacey?
Teal.
Teal. I would not have guessed that. Okay. To me, that's kind of a baby blue. I don't know. All right. And then red and green. This one to me just boggles my mind. You add those two light colors together, you get yellow. I just think that's too weird. All right. Because I'm used to mixing paint. Paint works completely different. All right. Most of us know how to use paint, right? Or crayon. And the days that we were eating glue. Huh?
I missed those days.
You missed those days making glue boogers with your... Okay, never mind. Okay, so let us pretend we've got red pigment here. If we're using red, green, and blue in equal measure to make white light, what's going to happen is this pigment is going to actually absorb the blue and the green, and what will reflect is red. It's very strange, but that's how we end up with a color in a reflected light. All right, so what's being emitted is white light hitting this pigment, and then you'll get a reflection of that red color. All right. Okay, so this is a little bit more complex. When you add these light colors together, you get white. This is light color. If you can't tell, these are supposed to be light bulbs. Okay, so symbolically, light bulbs, lights, green, red, blue. You add them together, you get white. Okay. So on a subtractive, with subtractive colors, which would be pigments, when you add them together, supposedly you should get black. You add them all together, you get black. When in fact, really, it's kind of a muddy brownish color. I mean, so we're talking theoretical at this point. Okay, so you add these colors, you get an additive to make white. In this case, you would have to subtract to get white. That's why they're calling this a subtractive color. Okay? When you add them together, you get black. If you subtracted color, you would get white. So additive is color, subtractive, pigment. All right. With color, the primary colors, that means you don't mix anything to get those colors. You get red, green, and blue. So, pop quiz. What do you add together to get red? Nothing. You don't add anything. That's the primary color. That's what makes it primary, right? Nope. I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so pigment colors, all right, you can see the difference here, right, between the additive colors, that's light colors, these are pigment colors, and they're different. You add red, yellow, and blue together, those are our primary colors for pigments, okay? So this is what we're sort of used to when we have our paint set and we mix red and yellow together. What do you get? Orange, obviously. You add red and blue together, you get purple. You add yellow and blue together, green. Perfect, yeah. So we all know kind of how pigment colors work. We all finger painted at one point. Yeah, I used to love to finger paint. All right, so secondary colors. All right, so if there are primary colors, there will be secondary colors. Now, you kind of have to look. Let me see if I can open this image. There we go. Maybe I can make it a bit bigger. Okay. So obviously, when you mix primary colors, so let's say we've got our blue here and we mix yellow, this right here is green, that's called a secondary color. Mixing primaries gives you secondaries. Pretty simple. All so here we go. All right. One of the most useful tools that we have for talking about color is called the color wheel. It's a fairly widely accepted model. So I'll talk to you about cyan, magenta, yellow in just a minute. What we're talking about here is really a theoretical model. Okay? So there might not be a really perfect red or a really perfect blue or a perfect yellow in nature. And so we are really talking kind of theoretical here. All right, but here are our primaries. We got red, yellow, blue. You add those two together, you get green. That's our secondary color. All right, so now cyan, magenta, yellow, black. Talk about that. So consider this being like paint. Okay, this is, everybody kind of knows how that works. You're going to run into a lot CMYK, all right, which is cyan, magenta, it's with a G, magenta, yellow, and black. Why do you suppose they K for black? And it could get confused with blue.
Yeah.
It's not.
Maybe when they tried CMYB, it was offensive.
It's politically incorrect. I don't know.
Well, there's very few colors that start with K, so
Yeah.
black.
Right. Yeah. This story I've heard is that B could be blue or black, so they just used K. There we go.
So you're not going to make it easy.
No, of course not. I would expect no less. These are ink colors. Okay. Somebody devised along the line transparent ink colors, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black used for printing. Okay. So these are transparent inks. The effect of which, when you print cyan, magenta, yellow, and black in tiny, tiny little dots next to it together, what it produces is something approaching full color. So everything that you see printed in a magazine that's full color is printed with these inks, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. Okay? So this does not fit the theoretical color model. Okay, red, yellow, blue. It kind of sort of mimics it just a little bit, and it does a pretty good job, but they're not the same. Okay, so these are ink colors, and if you could probably talk about color theory using cyan, magenta, and yellow, but I don't like it because it's not an easy conversion to the theoretical model that we're working with. All right, we use this all the time. Anytime you send an image or any kind of work off to a professional press, you have to send it in CMYK mode, not in RGB mode, because you'll get an angry pressman on the other end. Because you cannot print an RGB image. The technology does not exist for printing in light. Right? You print in ink. Yes, sir.
I said, yeah.
Yes, yet. Okay. Right. And I know that for a fact because I did it one time. Sent an RGB image off to the press, and I got a very angry pressman going, "You can't do this." I don't know. It's a mistake, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I got the bruises to prove it. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so primary colors, we got our red, yellow, blue. Secondary colors would be purple, green, orange. Okay, so if you add primary colors to secondary colors, you have tertiary colors. All right, so these are named more simply than Lacey is going to give us names for, right? Just so you know. This would be red, purple. This would be purple, blue, blue, green, yellow, green, yellow, orange, red, orange. Okay? Now, at the back of your mind, Lacey, you're welcome to name them whatever you want, but for the sake of this class, we got to keep it simple. All right?
Can I just like parentheses?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, feel free. But I want to, when you guys name these colors, be simple about it. You're welcome to put them in parentheses, and I think that would be amusing if you did. All right, so color practice. I think we can get going on that. That is going to be the document you're going to download from Canvas. It's the color wheel here. Now, here's what I want you guys to do. Do it from memory. It's a good exercise, okay? So try and do this from memory. If you can't do it from memory, go back and look at your color wheel. It's okay. But it's a better exercise if you can do it by memory. The colors are already set up for you in the swatches panel. So if you go to Window, go down to Swatches, there we go, right there. Swatches. Colors are already set up, so all you have to do is with your selection tool, grab one of these and set a color to it. If I started it there, where would I go? It's up to you guys to figure it out. Okay, so let's just double check our instructions. Okay, so you're going to fill in the color wheel with the appropriate colors, label the colors. Now that's with text, so get in there afterwards. And that's why I was saying use those simple color names like red, purple, blue, green, that kind of stuff.
You want the name of the color, not labeled primary, secondary?
In this case, no. No, I want the color on the color wheel and then the name of the color. That's all I need. All right, it's pretty simple today. Try and do it by memory. If you can't, go back and look. All right. All right, so any questions about this? It's simple today. Really simple. No questions? Fantastic. All right.